So, how do we age? That's the question I'm looking at tonight. And there is, in fact, quite a few different things that contribute to aging, but there is one overall main cause, and that's what I'm going to be focusing in on, and looking at a few other things as well. So, welcome to tonight's episode of Super Aging. I hope that you can find out some useful things along the way. Also, if you know someone who is interested in this topic or could benefit from it, please invite them over. And just a little reminder that I am going live through My Time TV Live, even though we're in a few other locations. So I can only see comments and questions if you are joining me there. All right, so basically, when we're aging, the main thing that causes us to age and can also, I suppose, make us age more rapidly is stress. Fairly obvious. But there are a whole range of different ways that we can actually have stress come into our life. And some of them we probably don't think about as much. So some of the things that can cause us stress are our thoughts and our beliefs, our attitudes towards different things, and probably in particular our attitude towards aging, just feelings and emotions, particularly ones that we're not dealing with, the energy that's around us, and then we have the things that we more commonly think of, so like the wear and tear on our insides, so what's happening with our internal organs and systems of our body, and of course the wear and tear on the external appearance of our body. So usually we focus on things in the wrong way, particularly if we want to be a super ager, which is all about living our best life for as long as we possibly can. So if we start focusing on the external and avoid looking at some of those deeper things, we might look great, but the way that we age is not going to be great. So the anti-aging beauty industry has, this massive income or whatever, for want of a better word, that they estimate, and I think this is just for the United States, I'm not 100% sure, but they estimate that for this year, it's going to be worth more than $62 billion US dollars. So that's how much people are spending on trying to make their outer appearance look good. But while we're focused on that, we're not addressing what's happening inside ourselves. So even when it comes to things to do with our internal organs and our internal systems, quite often we also sort of avoid thinking about what's happening there, focusing on that and checking in on it, because we can't really see it. And if there's nothing coming up, then we can just kind of go, things will be right. So, for example, in Australia, we have a few different sort of national screening things around cancer in particular. So there's the National Bowel Cancer Screening Program, which is for people aged over 50, where the government sends you out your kit and all you have to do is follow the instructions and send it back. But only 44% of the people who receive the kit actually send it back. And it gets sent out every 2 years, I think it is. We then have the National Breast Screening, which is for women. That has a slightly better, participation rate, which is about 55% of women. In fact, they find that women tend to do better at participating in any of these screening things. All right, so we don't really think about it too much until things go dramatically wrong. And that's even more the case with the things that are at even a deeper level, which have to do with what's really going on in our mind. So our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions have a huge impact on our body. And there's now being more and more research into exactly what that's all about. So we've probably had Louise Hay and some others who've written about it for 30 plus years, and now science is kind of catching up on it. So one thing to have a bit of a think about is, are we suppressing our emotions or are we dealing with our emotions? So if we deal with our emotions and they're kind of released out of our body and they're not going to have an impact on our overall health, they're not going to give us stress, which means we're not going to have accelerated aging. But if we do suppress our emotions, if we kind of push them down and continually spend our time not dealing with them, not working through what's going on, then this is when it can have a big impact on our physical internal body. So that kind of stress has effects, through almost any body system. But research has found that it, can have an effect on your blood pressure and increasing your risk of heart disease. It has an impact on autoimmune diseases, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome. So you can kind of see these are, some of the inflammation type diseases, also gastrointestinal issues. And it also lowers our immunity, which means that we're more susceptible to having stuff happen anyway, which is not a good way to be as we're aging. And it can also just make us more likely or at higher risk of getting type 2 diabetes as well. This is by no means the end of all the research. That's just some of the things that it does. So actually managing our emotions is really, really important. And sometimes it can be, quite difficult to actually do that. I mean, for example, with my job, which is as a teacher, you do have to spend quite a bit of time just kind of squashing your emotions down a bit, because you can't just kind of let it all hang out as you're teaching. You have to be, in control to some extent. But if you get too used to that, and this can happen in other kinds of jobs as well, obviously, I can only talk from my experience, but basically with my experience, you kind of get used to just squashing the emotions down, because that's what you have to do all day, every day as you're doing your job. And it kind of becomes a habit. So it was quite confronting for me to actually start to address my emotions and kind of release them. So very important though. And I mean, basically what I found was that as I did actually deal with some of the deeper, I suppose, negative kinds of emotions, so things like, anger, fear, guilt, all of those kinds of things, I actually found that releasing them changed the way I looked physically as well. So, you can kind of get the advantage of a bit of a beauty treatment as well when you let stuff go. So that's basically what I want you to think about for today. The fact that if you've got emotions that you haven't dealt with, if you've got emotions that are just kind of bubbling away under the surface, it might be time to actually deal with them and address what's going on. Okay, just for your own good, to try and give you the best chance of having optimal health. All right, so that's basically what I'm talking about tonight. So I have put into the comments a link to the Facebook group The Magic of Midlife, which is where we talk about different issues that relate to this, because midlife is when you really need to come to terms with some of the things that have happened during your life, or it's a good time to do that and kind of release them. So if you're interested in that, then you're most welcome to join the group. All right, have a really great week. Have some relaxation, some rest, some rejuvenation, and make sure that you're not suppressing your emotions. All right. Good night.